Academy is situated in the tranquil valley of Roslin Glen, 12 miles south of Edinburgh. This peaceful area is ideal for historic riverside walks invoking self-healing and meditation. Founded in 1993 by Alison Demarco, the Academy helps to promote awareness and understanding through the everyday use of colour.
Hello, I'm Alison. Colour and colour therapy is as ancient as times. The Egyptians knew of this and called it heliotherapy. We have the sayings red with rage, green with envy, feeling blue. These support the fact that there is a universal language of colour. We express ourselves through colour in the dress we wear and in our home decor. If we take the sun's rays and we break them down through a prism, we get the individual colours. If we begin with the violet, the indigo, the blue, the green, the yellow, the orange and the red, these all relate to areas of the body. There are 7 major areas of the body. Each has one of these colours. These areas are called chakras. We also have the aura, which is the electromagnetic field. And again, later on in this video, we're going to go through what the chakras are, what the aura is, and also what the colours in relation to these centres relate to on a physical, emotional and spiritual level. I believe we must all look at developing the non-dominant side of the brain, which will be one of the major changes for the 21st century. Here, at the Scottish Academy of Colour Therapeutics, we recognise the need for a professional approach to colour therapy. Students, when they're training with us, are made aware of this, and they become colour health practitioners. Now, the role of the colour health practitioner is to facilitate the client's own healing through colour and its therapeutic uses. I'm now going to introduce you to dowsing. Dowsing is holding a weighted object and getting a yes response and a no response. I have Miranda here and I'm going to douse her chakra, her energy centres. The reason for this is to find out which energy centres are out of balance. The theory is that the crown chakra begins spinning clockwise and then they go anti-clockwise, clockwise, right the way down the chakras. This ties in with the colour and the aura. So we start with the crown chakra, which is violet, which is about here. My dowser is spinning relatively evenly. This would relate to relatively balanced energy within the head area. Now the brow chakra should be spinning anti-clockwise and the colour is indigo. However, as you can see, it's going back and forward. So this would be one chakra that is out of balance. We move on to the throat chakra, which is blue. And again, it's going back and forward, so this chakra is also out of balance. The heart centre, which is green, is going clockwise at a relatively even pace. The central nervous system chakra, this is yellow, is going back and forward, which would relate to being out of balance. The gut centre, again back and forward, is orange and again is out of balance. The base centre, red, again back and forward, is out of balance. We can then take the dowser down to other smaller chakras within the body, which will give us other readings. The reason for dowsing these chakras is to piece together a picture of what is going on within the body system. Now I have finished dowsing Miranda's chakra centres, we can find out which energy centres are imbalanced, what centres are blocked of energy. What we would now do with Miranda, or anybody who came to us, we would ask them to choose colours, and this would tie up with their colour choices to the chakra centres that are depleted. We're now going on to discuss the chakra energy centres and their colours. The first one is violet. This is the crown chakra energy centre. The violet relates to spirituality, intuition, and somebody who is the key to the psychic gate and are perhaps involved or becoming to be involved in some form of healing. The next centre that we move on to is the third eye. Now this is indigo. The indigo represents the third eye opening. Again, a very psychic colour. It can relate soul's depression, where there is also perhaps sinus or eye problems and hormonal imbalances. The throat centre is blue. Now blue represents communication, creativity, artist, and perhaps a journalist come writer, also dreams, and can relate to someone perhaps who is a nurse or involved again in peace projects, a lover of the seaside, and someone who could very well benefit from going to the seaside and breathing. We move on to the next chakra centre, which is turquoise. Now turquoise relates to the immune system. It's very important these days through the food that we're eating that we get enough good nutrition. So turquoise is also between blue and green. So this is somebody who can communicate through the heart, lover of the seaside and a lover of the countryside. The next centre is the heart centre, the seat of the soul and the emotions. The person choosing this colour may well suffer from some form of claustrophobia and a need to breathe, get into the countryside, usually an animal lover, someone perhaps who suffers from fears, anxiety and maybe panic attacks. The central nervous system, the solar plexus, is yellow. Again, somebody can be suffering from nutritional deficiencies within this, and also somebody who may well be knowledge and learning and studying at the moment. The next centre, the gut centre, is orange. This represents, again, eating, but perhaps trauma, shock, and is generally picked when someone's had an operation. The orange people tend to be daredevils and thrill seekers and are very creative. The base centre is red. This is the sexuality centre, but it is also relating to power, control, projects, frustration, but can relate to some form of abuse as well. The pink is the womb, the reproductive area. This relates to unconditional love. The colour profile analysis system is based on using colour as a means to trace the root cause of illness, stress, negative patterns and other conditions of lifestyle through the Aurora Borealis collection, aura drawing and dowsing. The colour profile analysis system assists us to focus our attention and energies on the positive qualities of our being to enable balance and direction to take place using a wide range of natural healing methods. This is the Aurora Borealis collection, a set of 49 pyramid-shaped bottles, each containing their own single or dual-coloured liquids. This is a self-selecting system of choosing colours from the collection to bring us into the I am of our being. This brings us into the heart of the matter, releasing past conditions that have constricted the soul. Hi Dion.
Hi.
I'm Alison. I'm your colour health practitioner for today. You've been sent here by a friend of yours, I believe.
Yes.
Did she tell you anything about having a reading?
No, she didn't.
Okay. Well, the reading is based on your self-selection from the Aurora Borealis collection. This will find the reason why you've come to see me, the root cause of your disharmony. So by you self-selecting colours that you're attracted to and colours that you're not attracted to will enable us to try and get clarity for yourself. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to self-select 4 colours that you're attracted to? And once you've done that and you place them in order, 1, 2, 3 and 4, choose 4 colours that you're not attracted to.
Okay.
And if you choose 4 now that you're not attracted to.
Not okay.
So you've now chosen your colours. The first bottle here in the front row represents what you're drawn to. It's more your positive attributes. And the back row represents more of what you don't want to look at in life. So if we start with the first bottle, which is clear over orange. The clear over orange also indicates eating disorders, and it can indicate nutrition and all different things that are relating to nutrition. And what comes with that is also to do with self-love. And the bottle that's sitting behind it is relating to love. It's also the womb ovary and the reproductive system. So my suggestion is one of the main issues for you, and perhaps stemming from childhood, is to do with eating and to do with nutrition and diet. Would you agree with this?
Yes, yes, definitely. I
Okay.
seem to spend my whole life on a diet, so yeah.
Okay, so that's one of the key factors, is to find out why, and why you're not happy perhaps with your weight and what is going on and has gone on for you. The violet over green represents the spiritual side and can denote soul depression. You know, as if you're not quite on your pathway. Do you understand what spirituality means?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so the violet over the green represents the spirit and the soul being depressed. So some form of depression that's coming in, whether it's linked with your eating disorder, but it's probably more linked with the soul and the soul's pathway. And it can often relate to when someone has been almost looking after others or doing things because they have to do things. And that can relate then to work. And that would create a feeling of frustration and anxiety, can lead to panic attacks, fears, and these perhaps are unknown. So it's as if there's part of you has been searching and looking for something, but you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
The green area represents the lover of the countryside, the animal lover, and a need to get out. And you don't like claustrophobic situations. So, you know, working in an office wouldn't suit you, and it might be what you're doing at the moment. And therefore, this is creating a feeling of depression because you need to get out and breathe. And it might be making you feel a bit panicky. And the bottle that's sitting behind it, which is the blue over red, is the yin and the yang. It's the opposites. So there's part of you, in essence, is very peaceful, and part of you is very angry. Would you agree with this?
Yes,
Okay. And this can be frustration within projects that you're doing, perhaps at your work, but there is a need to develop your communication. This might be significant that you get frustrated and angry and come out of your actual true being and shout at people. So this would be causing you some stress as well. The next bottle, this one here, represents the marriage. So there must be issues in your marriage that perhaps need addressed. And it might just simply be that you need more space within the marriage to fulfill your spiritual pathway. Again, the bottle behind it is the yellow over red. And this can relate to the central nervous system, where the red becomes angry, and therefore there's a lot of energy, and it can relate to energy loss. Have you felt down or energy loss or depression?
Yes, I would say so, yeah.
So there is probably a need to look at nutritional and allergies. Is there any allergies? Do you suffer
Lots
allergies?
of them, yes.
So there may well be a need for detoxification and also for communicating the emotions that have created the anxiety and frustration in the first place. Within the marriage, there does seem to be situations whereby you may be going one way and your partner may be going another. So there's a sort of time where there's communication needed for your partner to perhaps understand your soul's journey. Would you
Yes,
agree with that? Okay. So there's a learning process as well that you're going through at the moment, and I feel that that is very important to you, and I think you know about that.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
I think there has been emotional trauma and past relationships that have caused you to become depressed in a relation type situation, and therefore these would be areas that I'd like to look at as well. The last bottle here does represent someone who has at some point, and perhaps is at the moment, suffering depression, and I think that's very much linked in with your eating and with the very first bottle that you chose, which is showing a void within the gut area. It could relate to a possibility that you've had an operation as a child at some point that has left you somewhat traumatised. But at the moment, I think this is very much a here and now reading, that what you're going through at the moment, and the significance of the main factors would be the eating, the trauma that's caused by perhaps a lack of self-love, and a need to resolve some communication issues in your marriage, and also your soul's pathway. You need to do more to work with your soul and to get involved in some kind of healing, perhaps hands-on healing. And there's a need for space, so I need to get out into the countryside and breathe. And I feel that where you're at the moment is not where you want to be, and you want to move on. So it's how do we move on with that? And really what would be significant for you to do at some point, once we've communicated our way through what these underlying problems have been to you, is to choose some more bottles to perhaps find out exactly what your intuition is telling you about your pathway in life.
Very interesting. Thank you very much.
Denise, we're now going to discuss the reading that has just taken place for Dion. How did you feel about that reading?
In conversation with Dion after the reading, she felt that the reading was very accurate, especially in relation to diet and eating, as she always, as a child, thought she was very overweight.
Okay, so as a student here, you've obviously grasped some of the ways that I got to that analysis, but it'd be good for us to go over it so you have a much fuller understanding of what a reading is and how you actually piece it together. So if we start with the first bottle that Dion chose, it's a clear over orange. And as you know, as we've learned, that tends to relate to a void within the area of the orange. Now, do you know what the area of the orange is?
Gut area.
That's right. So that then relates to eating. We know it has to have a key in. It can also relate to an operation and trauma. And what's interesting is that the bottle she picked to sit behind it, in relation to it, is a pink. Do you know what the pink is for?
Pink is for unconditional love.
Okay, so therefore with this eating disorders and most eating disorders, there is a lack of self-love. And as we know, the back row tends to denote what we're not looking at or what we're in denial of. So I felt very important that the void within the gut area, which represented her feelings of being overweight and constantly having to diet, which is what she then confirmed to us, had its basis in the fact that perhaps she could very much benefit from looking at developing some love for herself and finding out her positive qualities. Okay, so that's how we got to that with those two bottles. And how I related it to childhood was that the clear over the orange usually has a bearing on something that has happened in childhood. Now, we heard Dion then go on to explain that as a child she was always thinking she was fat because her cousin was very thin, so therefore she saw herself as being fat. And this has come into adulthood with her constantly having a need to lose weight. Now, the next bottle we began to talk about was the violet over green, which does, as we heard earlier on, relate to the head area with the violet, and the green, the heart area. And when we combine them, we realise that the spirituality and the soul in the heart area is claustrophobic, and that I believe Dion is very sensitive and probably an animal healer, which she agreed she loves and has horses, and this is where her soul is. She needs to expand and breathe, get into the country and be with her horses. And we know that she's working in an office full time, and this is not a good environment for her to be in, because this makes her feel very claustrophobic and in turn makes her depressed. We then talked about the blue and the red. Now, the blue represents peace and also the throat area, and that goes with communication. The red denotes the base energy, anger and frustration. And that linked with the soul bottle, the healer, the animal healer in the front, the violet over green, can then really create great imbalances and also communication that's angry, frustrated and controlled, and depletes her energy field. The next bottle I went on to talk about is called the marriage bottle, and therefore we also have her work situation as well as her marriage situation. Now, she's making a statement, she's married, and that's very positive for her, so therefore it's not a bad marriage. But I feel that her spirituality is perhaps not recognised by her partner, and her need to be with the animals and the countryside. Now that's picked up, we're back to this bottle, the violet over green. So again, the marriage is very positive for her. However, there's aspects of the marriage that can create trauma. That is the bottle sitting behind the marriage bottle, which is the yellow over red. The yellow is the central nervous system. The red, again, is a base centre, can relate to anger, frustration, and this would be in the central nervous system. Therefore, we can assume that she's very stressed out. And again, she's agreed and accepted this, that she is, and that is one of the areas that she wants to look at. Again, it's going with the diet and the nutrition. The yellow also represents some form of learning, and it's very close to the violet and the green. So we can therefore assume that she's made a recognition of her spiritual healing abilities and is either about to learn or has been learning. But this is also stressing her out, because I feel the more she's getting involved in learning this, the more that's where she wants to be. This will cause stress at her work, and she'll want to be outdoors, putting her healing into practice, especially with the animals. And again, this may come into conflict with her marriage. So again, with the yellow, and especially with the next bottle is the green, this can relate to finances. So my suggestion would be that the finances, because they're in the back row,
are controlling the fact that she has to work. And this, within that, creates the stress. And she has agreed that at present, with mortgages and bills, she has this need to work. But it's not where her soul is. The soul is in the green and the violet. And the last bottle, the blue and the indigo, relates to the spiritual communication, as you know, and the development of that communication. Do you know what else it can relate to? The indigo being the third eye, okay, and the blue the throat. So if you look at it from that, if you try and remember the communication in the third eye, but it can also be depression. Now, if you look at the green over the orange, okay, the green but sitting behind it is which area?
The heart area.
Okay, and the orange?
The gut area.
Can you remember what other meanings the orange could relate to?
It could be trauma.
Right, so trauma where?
In the heart area.
Okay. And also that can create claustrophobia. This bottle, green over orange, does, really, and so in other words, she's claustrophobic, but she's having to deal with it. And that's creating trauma in the emotions and in her feelings and in her work environment, which in turn creates the depression with the bottle sitting in front of it, which is this bottle, the blue over the indigo. It can also relate to, if you heard me say to her that she suffered allergies, because again it's sinuses, so she has a lot of allergies and would benefit from detoxification. Certainly a nutritional program, and we know because the first bottle in her reading and the last bottle doesn't match in colour. So therefore we know that at the moment what she's doing in her life is not what she wants to do. And therefore in this situation we would ask her to pick more bottles to see what her pathway is. But we do have to work with her to go through the underlying problems of her eating, her energy levels and her nutrition and her spiritual soul's journey.
We're now going on to discuss the aura. The aura is the electromagnetic field that surrounds the body. We can draw the aura by picking up on the frequencies. Rick has brought Bella here today as he is concerned about her well-being, and Tara is going to draw Bella's aura. Now I'm going to ask Rick to move away from Bella because Tara will pick up on Rick's electromagnetic field. So Rick, if you wouldn't mind moving and leaving Bella where she is, then Tara can commence the drawing. What Tara is doing now is intuitively picking up on Bella. She's decoding the frequencies of the aura and she's drawing them in different colours. We tend to use black where there is blockages within the system. Red is usually used where there is an inflammation or high energy. The colours in general relate to the chakra colours. It is worth noting that it is illegal to treat any animals other than your own. Well, Rick, Tara has now completed the aura drawing, and you did have some concerns about Bella, so we'll see what she's found in Bella's electromagnetic field, okay? It seems that Bella has had some trauma in her life, and there may be, or has been, perhaps an operation or some problems with her teeth. So that would be an area to look at, is the mouth area. The orange can relate to trauma or to an operation. So again, looking at her mouth area and her jaw, she may have been in an accident at some point. She's very intelligent, would you agree?
Definitely.
Definitely. The yellow it's almost as if Tara's seen the yellow, as if she's seeing through the eyes with this relatively high intelligence. And the green, we've got a couple of bits of green, that is relating to space. So she's a dog that likes to be outside, okay, or she needs exercise a lot of, or walks. So these are, the green is quite positive for her, but it is that she doesn't like claustrophobia. So I'm wondering if she's ever been shut up in something or locked up in something that would create fear.
Quite possibly. I mean, she's a rescue dog.
Right, okay.
Which is why I'm not entirely sure how old she
Right.
is.
So so therefore there could have been this trauma, and perhaps she is suffering from some form of claustrophobia. But we'll look at what more is concerning you, is what is going on in her system. And you see that the head just here, which is the neck, and the spine is red. Now that is inflammatory, so it could be arthritis or something like that that is creating her problems in the spine. I mean, she looks very healthy, but this would be an area to look at, is the spine area. It is inflammatory. And this area here is black. So we could be looking at perhaps breathing, or it could be an accident, but something within this area here. And again, what we do is refer obviously to anatomy charts and to find out exactly what this area is here. And it's almost as if there's been some form of depression in her life, so perhaps if she's been a rescue dog, that would fit quite accurately. And perhaps some form of healing. Do you know, has anyone done hands-on healing to her?
Well, I have.
Right, okay. Well, the violet, you see, relates to healing.
Right. I mean, lots of people probably have it
Right.
unwittingly, or I'm not sure whether ever, people have gone out of their way, or whether it's just people, natural care, or.
Right.
But I do know that she was hit by a car.
Right. So, do you know where she was now? Hit by what was actually? Did she break something?
Don't think so.
Right.
I mean, it was just more than anything, it was a shock.
Right. So that could be the shock here.
Mm-hmm.
That could be the trauma. Or she could have hurt her mouth through that accident, and perhaps that could have been an area where she was hit.
I'd say actually that was the exact spot where she was hit.
That's the exact spot where she's hit.
I don't know that for sure,
No.
but at a guess, I'd say that was.
Right. So that, obviously we need to look at that, balancing back up the frequencies. And there is perhaps something in the front leg and the front foot. Do you know anything about that?
Not especially. She does often, because she does run a lot. She's outside a lot, and
right.
she does run herself quite mad, and often she does come back limping.
Right.
But as to which leg, I mean, now I'm aware of it, I will.
Yes, it's the right.
Front right.
Front right, and perhaps the foot.
Right.
Something inflammatory. Just check her feet, and this area here. It could be the knee. Again, it could relate to this, which could be arthritis of sorts. Something inflammatory that is causing her pain. And you can see it in the tip of the tail. This area as well is the gut area. So perhaps, some form of detoxification for her. Now, I'm not sure, what food does she eat, or do you know?
It's, well, at the moment she's eating a lamb and rice kibble. But she gets fed from time to time sort of fish, and last night she had what we ate, which was a vegetable dish, but mostly dried dog food, and then supplemented with meat.
Right.
And fish at other times, and what we eat, if there's stuff left over.
Right. I'd like to look at what she's eating more, especially dried dog food.
Right.
I've got a feeling that there's something there that's just not agreeing with her. Because this is really the gut area along here, and there's black on it, as you see. So, I don't think that there's anything particularly major. And I think she's a very down-to-earth dog, and that there has perhaps been trauma to her nerves, her central nervous system. But, I mean, she's done or had a lot of healing or a lot of space given to her. So, therefore, this green area here is very obvious that, that's the heart area, it's a healing area. But it's not in the heart area, but still
there's this large area of green that, you know, is expressing her emotions. So I think she's very settled with you. Would you agree?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Have you had her long?
Reasonably, about
Right.
7 years.
Right. Okay. So that's the healing, and the love is for healing, and she's obviously got a lot of love to give. So I don't think there's anything major to look at, but what I would do is to look at balancing up these frequencies, and that I would do by electrocrystal therapy. And look at her nutrition, and perhaps some Bafla remedies would help, just to get her over and past any trauma that is still in her, that would be better expressed. And Bafla remedies work wonders on dogs. Although she's very happy, there is some internal trauma still going on that would benefit from that. Is there anything you want to ask?
No, not really. I mean, just to say that it does tie in from the history that I do know of her. I mean, I think she probably lived on the street
Right.
for a while before she was picked up by the dog's home. And it all does tie in with the little
Right.
bits that I do know
Okay.
of her.
That's excellent. We'll start looking at a programme, putting together a programme for her. Okay,
Great.
thanks. Aura drawing began for me when my Irish setter pup was written off by the vet. She couldn't walk, she was lame, and the vet said I'd over-exercised her. One night, I was compelled to paint. Here we have the nose of the Irish setter, the bridge, the head, the eye. She's sleeping and she's curled in a ball at my feet. Here we have the gap in the electromagnetic field coming from the back. Manipulation found a trapped nerve, and Aurora now enjoys a healthy life.
If you'd like to find out more about the language of colour, or even becoming a colour health practitioner through study here or our unique home study course, contact us now at the Academy. We'd be delighted to hear from you.